606 Talk 102.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane off and running. Brian here with you. Jake producing. Happy Friday the 13th, everybody. We got a busy show for you today. No Haggai Davis in today. Haggai's on the shelf. Haggai's on the DL. That's disabled list, not down low. Although he might be on the down low as well. Haggai's out this week, so no cup of tech gumbo. Going to be talking inflation with Dan Eberhart. Dan Eberhart's he's a good dude. We've had him on the show a couple times. He's the CEO of Canary LLC. We hit him up every so often for different economic issues on the national scale, energy-based issues as well. But. I don't want to talk a whole lot of energy with Dan. The conversation will go there. But more important than that, right after Dan Eberhart, we've got Mike Moncla from the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Love having Mike on the show as well. This is where we will talk energy, specifically oil and gas leases. The Biden administration has canceled the sale of a number of leases, a few of those within the dozen or so that he canceled right here in the Gulf of Mexico. This hits home. Pretty significantly. Going to talk with Mike Moncla at 6:50. In our 7 o'clock hour, 7:15 to be specific, looking forward to this one. If you followed politics for any amount of time and you've, for some reason or another, put your TV on CNN, David Gergen is the chief political analyst for CNN. He's also been an advisor to 4 presidents. I got the chance to talk to him yesterday after the show. That's going to play back at 7:15 this morning. He's got a new book out called Hearts Touched by Fire. Another fascinating cat. Really looking forward to that conversation. In fact, if I could kind of inside baseball this a little bit, tell you a little bit about the behind the scenes on the show. David Gergen was supposed to be in that 6:50 segment, but the conversation ran long. So have to push it back to a longer segment. Yeah. That's you know a good conversation's coming. Renea Duffin from Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center is going to hop on board at 7:35. Live Well BR coming up this weekend. Yeah, we told you about it last week. We will tell you about it again this week. And there's a whole lot going on with Live Well BR. Used to be Fest for Life is what it used to be called. But we'll dive into that at 7:35. In our 8 o'clock hour, State Senator Patrick Connick is going to join us at 8:15. State Senator Patrick Connick is the author of SB 250, which, we all have all the bills memorized by number, right? SB 250 lays out the guidelines for how the state's colleges and universities need to follow name, image, and likeness rules. We got out the blocks pretty quickly last year, getting everything set up, and then we very quickly learned after that, wow, there's still a lot that's unwritten. A lot that other states are trying to do that I don't know if it's legal or not, but let's go ahead and set the ground rules for what is and is not legal. Patrick Connick joins us at 8:15. We will wrap up our guests with Matt Moscona at 8:35. The Saints schedule dropped yesterday. Well, all the NFL schedules dropped yesterday. The Saints schedule being among them. I don't know if you've gotten a look at it yet. I know I dug into it yesterday. A lot of very, very... There is a stretch on the Saints schedule next year that I don't know that any coach could really overcome, much less a coach in his first year with a program. The good news is, the way the Saints schedule starts off, we should be 2-1 heading to London, which is a good thing. A couple of other nuggets that I want to ask Matt about. One of which is, how difficult is it to look at the Saints schedule for 2022 and not view everything through the lens of Sean Payton as the head coach? I started through trying to figure out wins and losses, and every time through, I'm like, well, wait, I got to go back and rethink what the scoreboard's going to be. Because the number might be low, on the opponent's side, but I think I'm overinflating numbers on the Saints side. So we'll talk with Moscona at 8:35. And you're going to want to stick around the final segment of the show. Got an announcement to make then. Yes, I'm saving it till the final segment of the show. But we're here for you, 6 to 9. Jam-packed show. Let's get to it. Actually, let's go ahead and get to a break. We are already due up for our first break. When we come back, let's talk a little more about that Saints schedule. It's our sports segment. Also, LSU baseball hosting Ole Miss this weekend. We're covering both of those items next on Talk 107.3. Gross. Oh my gosh, stop saying pubic hair. Pubic hair in the pubic region. Stop saying pubic. Stop it. Oh, Venus. That's a lot better. Jacelyn Wheat. Oh, hey, all those Governor Edwards cuts I sent you yesterday. Okay, cool. YouTube, I'm not in there yet, but are you superstitious? Writings on the wall. I cannot believe I'm even awake right now. Next Axe Retreat from Mercy got underway yesterday. I was not part of the team this time around, so I rode the bus with them down to the retreat center. No. Wait. That way. I didn't get back home until almost 11 and started show prep then. And then the wife had, Christy had adoration at like 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a jacked up night. Good thing the Blue Blood season's over with. We could both fall asleep with tequila in our hands tonight. Boom! Oh, hey, I wonder if Christy's up. Christy, you up? Good morning, sweetheart. Carrie needs her physical with her today. She's got to bring that to Coach Walla. I'm goofy. I'm not feeling well. Today has a chance of getting loose. Hey, there she is. Good morning. Yes, sir. .615, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. You heard the promo for Jay Ducote coming back in right there. Yes, 4 to 6 this afternoon will be the Jay Ducote show. Did you hear him yesterday? In and out? Okay, so Jay Ducote, of course, has his line of products, which if you're watching on YouTube, you can see a few of them over my left shoulder. Wow, that is a mysteriously scarce roster right there. All the spices and rubs are gone. You get the molasses mustard, the barbecue sauce, the coffee, and the Blanc du Bois. But dude, Jay Ducote show yesterday. I don't know how you get to be that lucky in life. So photo shoot for all the products yesterday. Which, by the way, right now is the time. Go to jdcody.com and start ordering your barbecue sauce, your molasses mustard. Molasses mustard, if you don't know, is the best kept secret in Baton Rouge. All the rubs and whatnot. It's grilling season. Coming up Memorial Day. You're going to know it's grilling season because we're going to have every restaurant in town up in here for Foodie Friday with beef. Grilling season, you got to have your JD's products ready to roll. So they're doing a little, promo photo shoot and just made the whole show about that. It's like, how do you score that in life? Make the whole show about that, and then you bring in people with beer and wine and the Bourbon Society. I mean, it was like a party on the radio yesterday. I was actually a little jealous. All right, sports time at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. As I said in the opening segment, the 2022 Saints schedule is out. We will have Matt Moscona on to talk about it coming up at 8:35. Right now, though, Ross Jackson, a host of Locked on Saints podcast, says the league is taking a wait-and-see approach when it comes to these new-look Saints.
It's a shift in terms of what we have gotten used to seeing from the New Orleans Saints, who usually max out their prime-time slots, particularly since 2017 and on. And so, this is a pretty good indicator of how it is that nationally the New Orleans Saints are being perceived.
Not a whole lot of primetime games this year is the rest of the intro to that cut that I stupidly left out. Not a whole lot of primetime games this year. Now, this goes back to what I was saying before about what when I'm looking at that schedule, how much of that is a Sean Payton schedule and how much of that is a Dennis Allen schedule. If you're a network, if you're ESPN or wherever the games are going to land, NFL Network or NBC for Sunday Night Football, you're looking for highlight reels, man. You're not looking for a 17-13 grind. Well, you got a defensive-minded head coach now. Jackson says he likes the overall setup of the schedule with the Saints playing 6 of their first 9 games at home. However, if he could make just one change,
I think the only place I would say that the NFL maybe could have done the Saints a favor a little bit would have been having the bye week a little bit earlier. It's funny, usually we're complaining about the bye week being too early, but now this would be a situation in which you kind of want an earlier bye week because of that London travel, that London game.
That London game is, it was at week 5. Yeah, week 5, 4 or 5. Week 4 is the London game. That's going to be a bit of a stickler, but more to the point for me, I would like the bye week is in week 14. More to the point for me, why I would like to see the bye week sooner is the first-year head coach. I know he's not a first-year head coach overall, but it is his first year here. You want to run things out there. He's not changing a whole lot from Sean Payton to Dennis Allen or in the plans right now. You want to run things out there, get a good look at it. You get 6-7 weeks into the season, and then you get a get-right week. Get yourself a week off where you can kind of reconfigure everything and see what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong. Let's reset the table for the rest of the year. However, it is worth noting, bye week later in the year means if you're in the playoff hunt, you do have a good week of rest closer to playoff time. LSU baseball, 7:30 p.m. is your first pitch tonight out at Alex Box Stadium. They are hosting Ole Miss. Pregame starts at 7. Chris Blair will be on the call. Here comes the Fox Business Report. No, I decided to promote Jay Ducote's products instead. Because I'm going to hit him up for free barbecue sauce all summer long. So my trade agreement my verbal trade agreement with Jay Ducote just started. Actually, hey, on YouTube, have you had Jay Ducote's molasses mustard? And how do you use it? I'll tell you how I do. When you throw the sausage on the grill all summer long, pull the sausage off the grill, slice it up real good, little cup of a little molasses mustard to dip in. No matter who you're serving it to, they dip in and go, ooh, because they're expecting barbecue sauce. Ooh. Oh, no. Oh, no. Our table. There I am. All right. I sound strokey, don't I? Slower. All right, good. Thank you. Hey, kill the mics. What the hell? What? I don't even know what this. Who is this guy? No, I'm done. I'm off it. Get off of my show. Get off my page. Oops. Your problem for drivers. .624 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So I got to rewind back the clock just a little bit to Wednesday. Governor John Bel Edwards was at the Rotary Club of Baton Rouge giving kind of a state of the state address to the club. I had meant to get to this yesterday, and then we had a couple of guests pop up that I wasn't expecting, so we just had to roll it over. Not to worry, though. The bridge is still kind of important. In fact, that's one of the things the governor laid out is that when you're looking around the state at the number of projects that are out there. Actually, let me back up before that. In his talk to the Rotary Club, the governor noted the time and place where we are right now, whether that be where we are budget-wise with having a surplus, whether that be all the federal dollars that are circulating around right now, whether that be infrastructure-wise with a $14 billion backlog. When you add all those together and you start to look at what the state needs to do and where, the governor did take note of all the one-time federal dollars coming to Louisiana. There is no intention to spend any one-time dollar on any long-term project or a long-term expense. But he did note that when it comes to the infrastructure projects, this Mississippi River Bridge, probably the most important one out there.
I guess all of you live or work here in Baton Rouge, or you wouldn't be at the Baton Rouge Rotary Club. The traffic problems here are the worst in the state. And the common denominator there is I-10 coming through Baton Rouge, and particularly the bridge. And so for me, and this has been the case for a long time, by the way, and I guess it stands to reason because what we call the new bridge is as old as I am, and I'm bald and gray. But that bridge is a real challenge, and because it's not just carrying local traffic, as you know, it's one of the most used corridors of transportation anywhere in the country that runs from Southern California over to Florida. And so having a new bridge, I think the vast majority of Louisiana agrees, is the single most important priority for infrastructure.
I mean, you going to find anybody in Baton Rouge that's going to argue with that? Two quick notes about that last cut. Number one, did you notice the guy with the little laugh that sounds exactly like a laugh when a priest gives a joke that isn't funny, but there's the one person that anyway, the joke was funny, but yes, you're not going to find anybody in Baton Rouge who's going to argue that the bridge isn't the most important thing. I thought it was a little weird, though, that he says the interstate isn't just for local traffic. The interstate shouldn't be for local traffic at all. It's right there in the title, interstate. If you're going from state to state. Anywho, this all leads up to why he dedicated or tried to dedicate $500 million to just getting the ball rolling as an investment for what's going to be a much larger price tag.
As a result, we can't use that funding as it currently sits there in any amount and say to the federal government as we apply for grant funding that money is available for the bridge, because it can be used on anything else at any time. And that is a real problem. The second thing is the private sector. And we're not going to build a new bridge in Baton Rouge that doesn't involve the private sector. They're not going to get excited about that either, because there's no real commitment on behalf of the state. And these private sector companies will spend millions of dollars coming up with a proposal. They don't want to spend those billions of dollars only to find out we weren't serious. And so having the $500 million, having it in a fund that can only be spent on the bridge is critically important.
This is, if I've ever been 100% in the governor's corner, it's with that $500 million. Now, you put it in front of the state legislature, and they're going to tell you, well, you got to have it narrowed down to one location before we can, dedicate any money to it. How are we going to put money to a bridge when we don't know where it's going to be, and it's going to be a bridge of nowhere, and we're going to end up with another Audubon? And those are all valid arguments because we've seen it happen in the past. We're Louisianans, for crying out loud. We've been burned. I get it. At the same time, though, there's a side piece of this where it is once-in-a-generation dollars, so everybody puts their hands in the cookie jar. I just don't want everybody coming out with crumbs. The governor talked about how you would dedicate dollars without having an exact location, and the big danger here is having a chicken and egg situation.
And then it gets to be a chicken and egg thing. Any transportation project that's $500 million or more, you're not going to get a final record of decision from the federal government until you have a viable financing plan. And so if anybody says we want to know where it's going to be built and make sure the federal government's going to approve it before we put the money up, guess what? They're not ever going to do it in that order. We have to put the money up. We have to come up with a viable financing plan in order to get the federal government to give the final approval. And in the meantime, as we do all the environmental documents, they have a shelf life. They expire at some point. And so if you keep doing the environmental work to try to get the clearance, and then you start trying to cobble together the money to build the bridge, by the time you're successful, there is a great chance all the environmental work has terminated. You got to start all over again.
But the problem there is, this one-time money is coming here, so that has an expiration date too. Let's narrow the focus on getting down to one dadgum location, not let the perfect be the enemy of the good, and get ourselves a bridge. Not enough time to keep going. Here comes news on Talk 107.3. We're calling Dan Eberhart. Byron says North Louisiana legislators are usually the roadblock. Pun intended. They want the money for things like a possum racing track and the like. All right, to be fair, they want money for things like hunting feral hogs as well, right? I mean, let's just put it all out there. Meanwhile, North Louisiana, they seek governmental dollars to fund feral hogs. Here, it'll be on the church auction's website or a listing on the church auction to go on a feral hog hunt, right? They'll ask for money to do it. We'll donate money to do it. What? Okay. Let it play out. Come back to me. I'll say, obviously we had some kind of audio mix-up. I'll toss it to break or toss it to traffic. What's happening, T-Bob? All right, looks like we had some kind of audio difficulty with that newscast and the download. The download kind of just stopped where the download wanted to stop. We'll recap whatever we missed a little bit later. We'll, of course, have our news at the bottom of next hour as well. Right now, let's get you to traffic break, and then we're talking inflation with Dan Eberhart next. Done and done, sir. Troy says, cannot legislators trust DOTD and the consultants that probably all of the 10 locations will work? Do they expect to be the traffic engineers in the situation? Don't answer that. Oh, I wasn't going to. Yes. Okay. Nothing you can do. It's actually a good thing because he's got to bail early. He's hopping on a flight in 25 minutes. So, yeah. Yeah. Can I say peeing down our leg? You think? Who is this? 637 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. No, I have not talked about HB 813 yet this morning, and I probably won't. I want a full day or so to unpack that, what went down at the state legislature yesterday, as Danny McCormick's bill was completely revamped. We have other issues to cover this morning. Joining us right now is Dan Eberhart. He is the CEO of Connick USA, the largest privately owned oil services company in the U.S. Dan, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm good. Thanks for having me back.
Glad to have you on here, although I wish our topic was a little bit more lighthearted than inflation and what we are facing as a nation right now. Let's just dive right in. What factors led us to the inflation that we're seeing today?
Well, I think commodity prices are part of it, but I think a big part of it is, all this COVID money, particularly this $2 trillion stimulus in the first quarter of 2021 really increased the money supply and unleashed inflation around the country.
Historically, have we seen when the government sticks its nose in and just tries to artificially pump up the economy that this would be the result?
Sure. I mean, I think this was a little bit the intent of the fiscal policy surrounding the housing crisis and the Great Recession was 2008, 2009. Mm-hmm. But, this is really unprecedented. The amount of money the government has put on the street has really pushed prices up, and prices are increasing faster than people are able to increase their wages right now.
Which the side note of that is if people's wages catch up to prices are going to go up again.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's a spiral, and I completely disagree with the Biden administration said inflation is transitory. I laughed in disgust. Look, I think inflation is something that it's Pandora's box. You let it out, and it spirals up and away, and it's hard to control again.
The Great Resignation was a big factor in this, and the free money that was handed out, and I air quote free money that was handed out, that was a contributing factor to the Great Resignation plays into this. Those are internal factors. Are there any external factors that have played into the inflation that we're seeing right now? Something that would actually be out of the Biden administration's hands?
Well, look, I think we've got a good economy, and I think ultimately that's what everybody wants, but it's a little bit overheated. I think the Federal Reserve is a bunch of academics that, once again, have missed the turn. They should have raised rates probably in Q4, and Jerome Powell just got reelected, right? But he, in my opinion, missed the turn.
Wait, does that mean that he can't now, or are we just going to be playing catch-up?
He's just going to have to play catch-up, and they should have started raising rates in fourth quarter, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And, as usual, they waited too long.
So if you're playing catch-up, how dangerous is the possibility of overcorrection?
Well, I think that literally they've yet to create a soft landing. There's never been this much inflation, and the Fed has produced a soft landing. So if they were able to produce that would be the first time.
What are going to be the repercussions?
The
go ahead.
Odds are against it.
Yeah.
The odds are against that.
Completely. What are going to be the potential repercussions here? I mean, this is a midterm year. Are we going to see a major shift in party in the midterm elections?
Well, I think inflation hits everybody equally. Look, and everybody knows, your ribs cost more at the grocery store, your gasoline costs more, your Uber costs more. Costs are going up for everybody. And I think that doesn't matter if you're Republican or Democrat. And so some people are just going to vote differently. The long-term implications are really higher mortgage rates, so middle-class folks will be able to afford less housing, unfortunately.
Okay, so with all that, and I'm asking as a Republican, how does the Republican Party keep the eye on the prize and move towards a shift that would have more fiscal responsibility, more not policy being enacted right now, but just keeping the ball on the tee until you could swing right through it in November?
Well, number one, defeating Build Back Better, I think, is a concrete example. But really, we've got to have policies that show fiscal responsibility, fiscal restraint, and we've got to really keep focus on telling folks we understand inflation is slowing down the economy. We understand how it's hurting. This is what we're doing. And we've got to have a better story at that than the Democrats. The Democrats seem almost laissez-faire about it, though, and like they don't care that much, frankly.
I don't do a whole lot of bashing the president on this show, but I'm hoping this doesn't sound like bashing him, but Joe Biden has been hit with so much in 2 years as president, whether it be the war in Ukraine or the pandemic or the great resignation, the economic crisis that's resulted from that. All these things are compounding. He's not a young guy. How does he look like he's handling things?
I mean, I think he looks a little bit asleep at the wheel. And look, there has been an awful lot that's come about, but he ran on this. So he ran to handle our problems and to deal with what comes up. And I think he's failing at being able to triangulate all this stuff. And particularly the economy is both too hot and, he's not focused enough on inflation.
Will we see a focus on inflation that a soft landing or not? Or are we going to see any more moves in the coming weeks or months that could actually affect things?
I think we're going to have to. People are going to vote on this in the midterms, and it's affecting everyday Americans right now.
Oh, but are we? Care if I get conspiratorial for a moment?
Go ahead.
Okay. So we had the leak about the Roe v. Wade opinion a couple weeks ago, right? As everything else, economy-wise, is starting to look like it's questionable when it comes to jobs that are out there that aren't being taken. Jobs aren't even being looking for anymore. Prices of everything going through the roof. Everything we've just talked about for the last 6 minutes. How many different issues are going to come up that aren't the economy as a distraction to the economy? Or how many different issues that aren't about our personal economies that would be a distraction? And I'm not calling a change in Roe v. Wade a distraction, but based off of who leaked it, it could very well be. So how confident are you that we could see some effort to tighten the belt versus more and more shiny objects for us to chase and hate each other?
Well, we might see more shiny objects and culture war stuff, but I think the fact of the matter is most people vote in the economy first, education second, and everything else, including foreign affairs, third or last. So the Biden administration is really going to have to focus on this problem, and the problem's getting worse, not better.
Dan Eberhart, CEO of Canary USA. It's crazy. Wasn't it a Clinton quote? It's the economy, dummy. Wasn't that a Clinton quote?
Yeah, James Carville. It's the economy, stupid.
Yes, it's the economy, stupid, not dummy. My bad. And I should know that. James Carville's right here in Baton Rouge.
Louisiana.
It's amazing how far the pendulum has swung from then until now. Look, I know you got a flight to catch. I'm going to let you get back at it, man. I appreciate a couple minutes of your time this morning.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you. He is Dan Eberhart, CEO of Canary USA. It was very intentional not to talk oil and gas. Canary USA is the largest privately owned oil services company in the United States. And we are, if you're following the headlines, where we are in the oil and gas industry, especially with the announcement this week that the Biden administration has canceled a number of lease sales. Well, a few of those lease sales are right here in our own backyard. So rather than talking with Dan about the lease sales in our backyard, I decided we will shift gears. Next segment, we are going to talk with Mike Moncla from the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association about the Biden administration's cancellation of leases. That's coming up next. Hey, before we get you to break, though, we're not too far out from Memorial Day. And since we're not too far out from Memorial Day, you know what happens every Memorial Day? Everybody has a sale, right? There's a sale on everything. Well, the same is true over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. 2 locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, 4065 Florida Boulevard, or the corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2. And what you're going to find for this Memorial Day sale is ridiculous pricing on basically every name brand mattress they have in the store. I'm trying to scroll through to see where we're at on, how about this? It's an all brands event. 24 months interest-free. 24 months interest-free financing. You got a minimum purchase of $1,500. And with the sale prices that Mitch Kimball and his team has over at the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, $1,500 is going to buy you a top-of-the-line mattress. By the way, you can enjoy 6, 12, or 18 months interest-free if you're spending just $800. Both locations of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet, they got them 4065 Florida Boulevard. That's in Mid-City. The corner of Jefferson and Hoosier 2 if you're down closer to the parish line in the southeastern portion of the parish. Don't forget, as always, drop my name, you'll get free delivery and a free pillow. This is at either location of the Baton Rouge Mattress Outlet. Did you say Complete Collision earlier? Okay, shoot. I was trying to remember which one, and I know I. Byron says, did he say Biden should have raised rates? I thought that was Jerome Powell? Not a president. No. Yes, it is the Fed's job to raise rates. It is the president's job to urge the Fed. Troy has an interesting take. Troy has a very interesting take. I'm starting to believe the bridge opposition is more related to opposition to Biden's infrastructure package. Don't want to be seen supporting the leverage of the feds. I'm going to mull that for a minute because traditionally, oh, man, I don't know. So if you narrow down to one location, you start building a bridge. The building of that bridge starts with the $500 million that comes from the federal government. Joe Biden decides to run for re-election, and his first campaign commercial is from the groundbreaking of the bridge. Are you saying you don't want to see Democrats be able to run on it? I don't know. That's tough. I don't know. That's more conspiratorial than my Roe v. Wade thing. Some of that money is in the state was from COVID dollars from Trump. Honestly, I don't have a breakdown of where that $500 million comes from. Yep, let me give you his number. You all right? You gonna get emotional? You gonna get emotional? I might. Is my mic on? 652 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So earlier this week, the Biden administration announced the cancellation of the last remaining lease sales in the Gulf of Mexico from the most recent 5-year offshore drilling plan. That hits home, and it stings. Joining us now to talk about it is Mike Moncla from the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Mike, welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you on here this morning. This is something that I honestly wasn't expecting. With so much press about how, well, there's leases being approved and whatnot. Like, with so much of that being on the forefront, I did not see this coming. Did y'all see this coming?
I didn't see it coming, but it's no surprise. You know, this guy ran for office saying he was going to put an end to fossil fuels, and he started his, day one, canceling Keystone Pipeline. He puts ESG requirements on banks for any kind of loan, which is going to basically, do away with oil field loans at financial institutions. And, this stuff, with canceling federal leases. I mean, he's just one thing after another. It's just one big green agenda, and it's not good for Louisiana for sure.
Okay, but can a big green agenda be replaced by a big red agenda? And we see what's happening halfway across the world with Russia's war in Ukraine, and say, you know what? And then you factor in the pandemic and the Great Resignation and everything else going on wrong with the economy. That's why it's a surprise to me. The idea that you can't put your own agenda on the back burner, which, you know what? Long-term viability, where whatever suits you. You do you, Joe Biden. That's fine. But right now, if this level of crisis mode, this level of historic crisis mode, to not vary from that, that's probably why it's so surprising to me.
Yeah, him canceling the 257 after you had 30-something oil companies come in and spend a little less than $200 million to invest, in the Gulf right here in Louisiana's backyard. It was painful. So to cancel these next two without even a 5-year plan on the horizon, by law they can't have another lease sale without a 5-year plan. It supposedly takes a year to a year and a half to get a 5-year plan done, and this is the only president in the last, since they started the 5-year plan, that doesn't have one and isn't even planning on one, and he's canceling the last 2 leases from the Trump sale. So it's hard to understand with the price of the pump, the pain at the pump, and what's going on in the world with the demand for oil and gas right now, that a president would do that.
We've already seen a return to the uptick in gas prices. I mean, we darn near doubled from the end of the Trump administration to where we were a few weeks ago. It started to taper down slightly, and it's back up over $4 a gallon again in most places. Have we seen all the repercussions of this cancellation yet, or should we be expecting a bigger hit?
Yeah, cancellations like this are it's more long term.
Okay.
The oil companies that are out there right now, they have leases, and one of the problems will be, can they get a permit to drill a new well or a permit to work over wells? So that'll be another problem that they have to face. But the production that's coming out of the Gulf right now, think about it, is from 5-year plans from years ago.
Yeah,
it's not from the last plan. There might be a little bit of production from the last plan, but production continues to decline. And if it's drilled, 10 years ago, some of those wells have tapped out, and some of them are continuing to produce. And so like I said, today's production from the Gulf is from farmer 5-year plans, the lease sales. And so to cancel, these next 2, it doesn't do anything to production today, but it's going to leave a void for years to come.
Aside from the price at the pump and where that might head, I think what hits home for us here in Louisiana is the number of our neighbors that are just going to be without jobs. What does this mean on a jobs front?
Well, for oil and gas industry, we are commodity driven, and so, for 7-year period, we had $40, $50 oil. It was a very, very difficult downturn that our entire industry went through. And since the election, the price of oil went from 37 the day before the election, and before the Russian invasion, it was at it more than doubled. It was at $90-something.
Mm-hmm.
So since the invasion, it's only gone up 10%. It was already up into the 90s. When you have $90 oil, you're going to get more activity at the well site, getting wells back in line, drilling new wells. So it does help the activity of our state as far as the upstream oil and gas sector.
We're talking with Mike Moncla from the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Got a little over a minute left, Mike, and I've got to ask this, and if you want to handicap the likelihood of it, that's fine as well. But can the president get the you-know-what back in the horse at this point? Can he renew a 5-year plan? Is that even possible?
Well, if he's going to be a one-term president, it might be a hard time getting it done. I mean, they say that it takes a year to a year and a half to get a 5-year plan in place. He hasn't even begun, and what does he have? He has 2 years left on his first term.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't know if he can get that done, especially with the administration he has and their focus on green, and they have put a lot of into his statement of we're going to cancel fossil fuels.
I mean, strategically, it feels like they've done this backwards. Like, wouldn't you build the green jobs first before phasing out what was already the bread and butter?
Right. And it's going to take all kind of energy for this world as the population grows.
Yeah.
We're going to need green energy, but we also need the oil and gas and fossil fuels and the byproducts that come with it. That's what most of America doesn't understand is the byproduct side of our product.
Oh, the byproduct side is ridiculously underrated, like criminally underrated. Yeah. That's a whole other conversation, though, and we're just out of time. We got to hit news here. He is Mike Moncla, heads up the Louisiana Oil and Gas Association. Very appreciative of your time this morning.
Thanks, Brian. Appreciate it, man.
Always. Yeah, you too. We'll talk to you soon. The byproduct end of this, I mean, you think about a place like ExxonMobil, where when you think of Exxon, you think of the gas that goes in your car. You think of the oil that goes in your car. Do you think about the tires that are under your car? Unreal. All right, here comes CBS World News Roundup on Talk 107.3. I'll be right back. No more national talk. That freaking wears me out. Actually, I say that. Got David Gergen coming up in 15 minutes. Yes. I don't think they sent me any photos to go along with that. Normally they do, but I don't think they did. Oh, look at that. What? Missed again. You got it. .706 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Brian here with you. Jake producing hour 2 coming your way right now. Busy hour this hour. So yesterday, right after the show, I got the opportunity to speak with David Gergen. Who is David Gergen, you might ask? Is he one of the bad guys from the Trolls? No, those are Bergens. David Gergen, senior political analyst for CNN and a White House advisor to 4 different presidents. Now, the 4 presidents were Nixon, Ford, Reagan, and Clinton. So politically, he's all over the map. Although through a 2022 lens, you'll see where he's kind of landing. He's also the author of a new book called Hearts Touch with Fire. When the interview was booked, when we got him on, the little guy handling the technical end on the other side, I say little like I know his height, says, "You've got 7 minutes." Well, 9.5 minutes later, we were done talking. Actually, I just let him go because he had to get on to the next one. So that's coming up in our next segment. It was a fascinating conversation. We'll dive into it at 7:15. Also this hour, Renea Duffin from the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center going to join us at 7:35. Festival or Live Well BR is coming up tomorrow, and we will learn all about that. We had Mary Bird Perkins on last week to preview the festival or the Live Well BR event. We'll dive into it again as it is upon us now. Getting you to top stories and trending in just a second. I do have to remind you about the folks over at Complete Collision Center, though. They've got 2 locations. One's on Plank Road in Zachary. I'll be heading up there next week. The other is Perkins, just east of Bluebonnet in Baton Rouge. I'll be going in there because some jerkwad ran me off the road. My car bottomed out, and my air compressor cracked. My AC compressor cracked. Called up, said, "Can y'all handle that?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely." Okay, well, then I'll see you next week. 768-9898 was the phone number I called. 768-9898. CompleteCollision.com is the website. Certified by more than a dozen major car manufacturers. Certified, they've got the iCar Gold Class certification as well. They know how to find and repair hidden damage. They know the difference between repair and replace, and that is unbelievably vital when it comes to getting your family back on the road safely. Check them out online at CompleteCollision.com. Don't let who you choose to repair your vehicle be your second accident. Check out CompleteCollision.com. Time for top stories and trending. Let's get it. Residents throughout Baton Rouge and its surrounding areas can expect to see changes in the sewage and water bill after the Parish Council approved an ordinance changing how those fees are calculated. EBR Metro Council unanimously approved the changes proposed by Mayor President Sharon Westenbrum's office. Their proposal aims to make sewage costs, quote, more equitable across East Baton Rouge, including Baker, Zachary, LSU, and Southern University's campuses. Baker residents will see the biggest change, a $5.89 per month decrease on average. Zachary will drop by about 92 cents. Residents within the Baton Rouge city limits can expect to see an average increase of 91 cents. I mean, equitable would be charging off of usage, wouldn't it? Oh, get ready for I-10 to be all jacked up. Long-term going to be good, though. About to get started full in on the College Drive flyover. If you haven't already seen it out there, you will very, very soon. Crews will begin restriping the lanes of I-10 and I-12 West near the split starting Wednesday. Quote, we're going to try to do it at night, off-peak hours, says Rodney Mallett with DOTD. Mallett says it's more important than ever to pay attention while driving through that stretch of interstate because barriers will be moved. If drivers aren't careful, they might be caught by surprise. Yeah, this is going to be big. It's going to be long-term, but it's going to be very, very good for traffic in the capital area. A person is dead. Another was hurt in a shooting reported in a parking lot behind a popular college drinking spot near LSU. BRPD said officers found Carltez Tucker, 16 years old, shot to death outside the Tiger Vape Shop on Bob Pettit Boulevard around 9 p.m. Tuesday, May 3rd. Next morning, May 4th, police said a second victim, a 24-year-old woman, arrived at a hospital in a private vehicle. She survived her non-life-threatening injuries. Police believe the shooting stemmed from Tucker stealing a gun. 3 people were arrested Thursday afternoon. 23-year-old Denzel Lewis, 25-year-old Jonathan Smith, and 19-year-old Ricky McLean. They were all charged with first-degree murder, booked into the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison. A man who died nearly 7 months after he was wounded in a drive-by shooting outside his house shared that address with his brother. A man later booked for killing 2 teenagers outside the Mall of Louisiana. This is all interconnected. The Baton Rouge Police Department announced Thursday Jermorius Ferguson, 25 years old, died this past week from wounds he suffered on October 8th when he was shot outside his house on Lock Haven Avenue. Ferguson lived there with his brother, Demetrion Grimm, who was booked last month for the February 25th double murder outside the mall. Arrest records said officers found drugs, a gun, and $37,000 in cash at the home earlier this year. They used that evidence to hold Grimm in custody until investigators were ready to book him for murder in the mall shooting, which police described as a targeted attack. If I can, take you back to Chief Paul, who said on this show, today's victim is tomorrow's suspect, and today's suspect is tomorrow's victim. By the way, good on them for figuring out a way to keep that dude behind bars the whole time, right? Instead of me reading a story about another shooting while someone was out on bond. It's the little victories. Authorities busted a drug trafficking ring spread across 4 locations in the capital area yesterday, reportedly finding enough lethal doses of fentanyl to kill roughly 2,500 people. I'm going to repeat that because it's worth repeating. Finding enough lethal doses of fentanyl alone to kill roughly 2,500 people. Sheriff's office worked with the Baton Rouge DEA to conduct the investigation of the drug ring over the span of several weeks. Investigators identified 4 locations allegedly used by the suspects, Mitchell Robinson, Whitney Ard, and Samantha Schmidt, to store and sell drugs. They obtained search warrants for an apartment complex on Mohican Prescott Crossover and homes on DeNova Street, Poinsettia Drive, and Maplewood Drive. What did they find? They found 2 pounds of fentanyl, 18 pounds of methamphetamine, 9.3 pounds of marijuana, 390 doses of tramadol, 56 doses of Suboxone, 12 doses of oxycodone, 4 doses of Xanax, an illegally converted Glock, a second Glock handgun, a bulletproof vest, and $35,299 in cash. By the way, just the drugs worth more than $140,000. Mitchell Robinson Jr., Whitney Ard, and Samantha Schmidt were all arrested on various charges. Those are your top stories. Here is a look at what's trending this morning. Mayor President Sharon Weston Broome has invented a new government post for the city parish. She announced the first director of community revitalization for East Baton Rouge on Thursday. Marley Pittman will serve on the committee designed to help keep Baton Rouge neighborhoods clean and sustainable, as well as help restore them from disasters. I tell you what, we're just going to see if we can't get Marley on the show next week. We'll let her talk about what her job is, what her role is, who she is, where she comes from, what are her wants, needs, and desires. All that'll be coming up later on. Right now, we got a break. When we come back from said break, David Gergen joins us next. All right, the YouTubes. Hey, I have a text. Joined right now by a senior political analyst for CNN and a White House advisor to not one, not two, not three, but four different presidents. Now the author of Heart's Touch with Fire, David Gergen. Welcome to Talk 107.3. How are you, sir?
I'm terrific, and give my best to James Carville and Mary Madeline.
We see, yeah, he's still roaming around LSU's campus from time to time. Never afraid to rep that purple and gold on a national level, too. We've got a lot to talk about with the book in a very short time to get it all talked about, but I've got to start with the White House advisor role.
Sure.
You've advised four different presidents spanning a number of years. When it comes to advising different leaders and leadership types, does that affect your approach when offering advice?
Sure. I think your advice has to be sort of tailored not only to the person you're talking to, the president you may be talking to, but also to the context in which you live. You know, James Baker, who was chief of staff for Reagan, I think the best chief of staff in White House history, used to make the argument, listener, there are three types of problems that come before a president. One are things that are really impossible to do, and because they're impossible to do, you should put them aside to let things ripen. Maybe it will become more possible down the road. So don't do those things. Then there are things that are really, really easy, and you shouldn't do those either. You should let other people lower in the organization do them because they are easy. You don't need to take your time. Your precious time is so precious. So there are two groups, and you just don't want to do it. The group that you ought to focus on, Baker would argue, the problem you ought to focus on are those that are tough but doable. They're tough but doable, and that's how we came to deal with Social Security reform. That's how we came to deal with tax reform in the Reagan years. It was a very successful approach.
What problems in today's society would you rank as impossible to do?
Well, increasingly, we seem to be making the environment something we can't get our hands around and arms around. I mean, we've had esteemed scientists, who've been telling us for a long time now, and they now make the argument we're in the most significant decade. This is the decade that's going to determine whether we have irreversible damage. And it's just stunning to me how we keep on dancing around and keep on promising this and promising that, and how little real progress we've made, and how the dangers are continuing to grow. And I think that's just emblematic of a lot of crises that have been building up over time, so that we're increasingly at some peril as a nation. And I don't know whether we can pull ourselves out of this mess or not. I hope so, and I think so. But I think the next 4 or 5 years are going to be very rough, very exhausting. Mm-hmm. But I do think there are. So I consider myself a short-term pessimist, but I am a long-term optimist. I think if you look over the horizon, there are many good things that are developing in America that should give us faith and hope in the future, especially among the young. I see these veterans coming back from Afghanistan and Iraq, and I'm telling you, they're just like the World War II generation. They're tough. They've had hard times. They're hardened as people, and they make great leaders, and they want to get into our politics on both left and right, which is good. I also see a big stream of people of color, who are now organizing in ways we haven't seen before. And I think black women in particular become moral standard bearers for the country. The Me Too movement, Black Lives Matter, politics to me are not. I'm not in their political. I don't share a lot of their political views. Mm-hmm. I don't share a lot of the views of AOC. She's pretty far left for my taste. But I celebrate her, and the black women are getting involved in our politics. I think is really healthy. And I think that over time they may be proven right. But we need people to get in the arena. We're not going to make this if it's just any one strand of Americans. We need all Americans signed up together to try to pull ourselves out of this mess.
You answered my next three questions all in that one answer, so I'm going to skip ahead to Heart's Touch with Fire. What made you want to write this book?
Look. I've just turned 80 years old. And I want to leave behind a legacy, or I wanted to collect in one place my own thoughts, my own reflections on something I think is really pretty vital. That is, I wish I had another 30 or 40 years to participate in trying to pull this country out of the ditch. I don't have 40 years, but I do have a iPad I can work on, and I can have a message, and I can reach I'd like to reach some young people. I'd like to visit college campuses to talk. I teach. I've been teaching for the last 25 years, most of that time at Harvard, and teaching leadership. And I enjoy working with young people. I enjoy the mentoring. I enjoy the sponsorship. I enjoy, especially if you work with some of these young people, they can just turn into terrific people, and they give you so much hope about the future.
I got to ask about the title. Where does the title come from?
Well, it's good you asked. Oliver Wendell Holmes Jr., came from a prominent family in Boston. He eventually went on to be a major Supreme Court justice for 30 years. But in the 1860s, when Lincoln issued the first call for volunteers to show up and volunteer in the Civil War, Holmes could have ducked. His family was prominent, as I say. Teddy Roosevelt's father ducked. Holmes could have ducked, but he didn't. He volunteered. He went to battle, and he was grievously wounded on three different battles. On the last one, he was left for dead on the battlefield. He miraculously recovered. 20 years later, he reflected on what it was like to be a volunteer, what it was like for his generation to be in the Civil War, and he called it a blessing to be in the Civil War. He said, men should share in the passions of their time. And we who fought were fortunate that we could engage in the passions of our time. Our hearts were touched by fire. Our hearts were touched by fire. I thought that was a wonderful way to speak to people who were servant leaders, that it will hearten you. It will give you courage. It will give you strength for the journey that's ahead for this country. And so I thought it was a phrase that frankly had a lot of elegance to it, and I thought might inspire people.
Last one before I get you out of here. Well, let's put your presidential advisory cap back on. You are let's say you're put back in the post to lend advice to Joe Biden. Yeah. How would you rank the problems to attack, and how would you spell things out for him? What would you put in front of Joe Biden's agenda right now?
I would say simplify the message, simplify what you're trying to do, focus on 2 or 3 things, let other people work on other things. But your message is getting garbled by how many different things are going on, and I think that's pretty critical. I do think both Donald Trump and Joe Biden need to take a look at whether they really want to run for the presidency in 2024. In my judgment, the presidency has become the most complex, the most powerful institution in the world, and it's really, really hard. It's demanding, and you've got to have a lot of energy as well as wisdom in order to do it right. Ask the question: should someone who's in their 80s try to do that? And my answer is, I would be discouraging people from running for major public office, especially the presidency, in their 80s. I think it's just, having reached that stage myself, I can just tell you, your mind is not as sharp, your body is not as strong, your energy is not as high. It's a place for people who are younger, in their 50s or in their 40s, that you can really succeed. So that's not welcome news at the White House. I'm sure they think that people there can live forever, but the truth is, I think it would serve the country well for the torch to pass at the White House as well. We don't need 80-year-old people running. It's too much danger. It's too much risk. This country is too important for the future of the world to have that office in the hands of someone whose health is vulnerable.
The book is called Hearts Touched with Fire. The author is David Gergen, CNN's senior political analyst, and just legendary status when it comes to the presidential advisory role. David Gergen, thank you so much for the time this morning.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to talk to you.
That was a lot of fun. Going to be available at talk1073.com on demand if you missed out on any of it. I do have, good. I got a couple minutes to unpack a little bit of this. Towards the end, where I asked if you could offer President Biden any advice, what would it be? And he said, focus on 2 or 3 things. Sadly, and this dials into his role as a CNN political analyst, I don't think you can focus on 2 or 3 things. Now, it lends to his next point about 80 being too old to be president, and that's a whole other topic, which we might want to explore at some point. Although, I hate talking national politics on this show. Anywho, focus on 2 or 3 things. How do you do that? In today's 24-hour news cycle-driven world, and the news cycle isn't even 24 hours anymore. In today's news cycle-driven world, where every single day the press briefing has to be televised, and you're peppered with questions from everybody from everywhere about everything. We have, and this is like, if you're on the right, if you are a true conservative, we've failed for years and years and years because we turn to the government for literally everything at this point. We turn to the government for guidance, if not laws and regulations, on every aspect of our lives. There is very, very little that we handle on our own without saying, hey, where do I need to go to get this? Where do I need to go to get that? You can't focus on 2 or 3 things without making everything else under the sun seem less important. What are we going to do to fight inflation? Whoa. By asking that, you're telling me Roe v. Wade isn't important? By asking that, you're telling me that baby formula isn't important? We view things through a lens of focusing on something means you're prioritizing it above something else. And yeah, I guess to an extent you are. But when it's presented to us on Fox and CNN and the 4 people that watch MSNBC, when it's presented to us in that manner, we all get to feel slighted. We all get to feel like we're missing out on something, like somebody else is getting more and therefore we're getting less. And I'm going to turn this around and bring it back home. It's because of this mentality when our governor wants to take $500 million and invest it into a Mississippi River bridge, everybody else around the state says, whoa. That means we're not getting something. Not true. What you were going to get is what you were going to get. And one day, someone is going to run on the campaign slogan that all 3 of my children were taught in daycare. You get what you get, you don't pitch a fit. But we view things through the lens because this is what we do in media. Like this is how the 24-hour news networks work. I always say sex sells, right? So does envy. So does fear. So does jealousy. It's going to make you stick around for another segment. It's going to make you want to know what Hannity's going to talk about after this. Or, I'm sorry, I would name the hosts on CNN, but I don't know them. Jake Tapper, is he still a thing? I used to watch Rick Sanchez. He was good. But it's going to make you stick around for another segment because now you're divided, which means you have an enemy, which means you have something you have to fear and be on the lookout for. If you could focus on 2 or 3 things, we could get those 2 or 3 things done. We could accomplish something together. Garrett Graves said earlier in the week, we spend 90% of our time focused on the 10% of things we disagree on. That needs to be fixed. Here's CNN. Oh, no, here's CBS. Excuse me. Was that, yeah, all good. Oh. Kevin Gallagher is very, very good at his job. He doesn't smash watermelons with a sledgehammer. Wait, is that reference too dated for you? Gallagher was a stand-up comedian in the 70s and 80s. And he just went by the name Gallagher. And if you went to his concert, you had to bring like a poncho if you sat in the first 4 rows. Because like half of his act was smashing shit with a big sledgehammer. He had other shit, but that's what everybody knew him for. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh, no. No, he made Dane Cook like Aristotle. Like he's been accused of stealing jokes. That doesn't go well. Although, to be fair, he makes a good case in his defense, saying, I didn't steal jokes. I've got similar jokes. It is possible for two people to think of the same premise and a similar punchline, especially like on a news cycle basis. The number of times I've run out joke, this is going to sound like I'm bragging. The number of times I've made a joke and that joke has been almost verbatim on Weekend Update on SNL, like it's happened maybe 3 times this year. But if that happened on a big stage, I'd be accused of stealing, even though my shit was out on Friday. All right. Dude. I want to do what? Okay. I want to thank everybody who has sounded off on this interview because, especially, all right, Storm Warning, The Moral Standard, Women of Color, how fashionable. Bro, did that not just ooze of pandering? Like, the guy's got a lifetime of knowledge. He's been inside the room. He's in the Oval Office for 3 decades. Offering up advice and guidance and doing so really well. I consider myself to this day a Reagan Republican. He's in the room for Reagan. Just, yeah, to see you in 2022 being like, oh, I tell you what, I think that AOC is a little bit wacky, but God bless her right to do it. Oozing with pandering. I wasn't passing up that interview, though, and I'm not going to apologize for it. So, I haven't continued to read the comments, but if I'm getting any blowback for bringing on a CNN guy, he's so much more than just a CNN guy. By the way, how dated is a Rick Sanchez reference when talking about CNN? Anyway, I literally could not tell you who hosts anything over there. I think one of the guys, who's the dude from Baton Rouge? Don Lemon? Is he still a thing? Career politics, swamp monster, legendary fake news. Biden can't remember what he did last night. My count. Great leaders allocate tasks to more competent persons than themselves. Solid point. Very solid point. Byron says, I went to a Gallagher concert at McNeese in the 80s. Sat in the first row. And did you get doused with watermelon? Oh. Well, we'll be all right. I can unpack that David Gergen interview for 15 minutes if she doesn't call back. Well, I'd hate to have it go to waste, Jake. Big day, this day in history in 1992. Oh, I assure you, you don't. Yeah, you're not gonna. This is a sarcastic one. Oh no, this is a celebrity boxing match. Okay. Nothing about it made sense. Yeah, but he had a TV show as well, I thought. I don't know. Actually, side note, I believe Geraldo's on with, he is! He's on with Kill Me today! .738 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Oh man, I could unpack that David Gergen interview for a week and not be done yet. Good night. No way in hell I was passing that up though. No way. Advisor to 4 different presidents. You kidding me? The guy's been in the room a lot. All right. We told you about this last week. Dying to tell you about it again. Live Well Baton Rouge is coming up tomorrow. What is Live Well Baton Rouge? Well, joining us now to talk about this is the VP of Cancer Support and Outreach over at Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center, Renea Duffin. Renea, good morning. How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. And yourself?
I could not be better. I guess that remains to be seen. I could find out if I could be better tomorrow, right?
Yes, you can, because we want you to live well.
So Live Well Baton Rouge used to be called Fest for Life. What is it?
Live Well Baton Rouge is an opportunity for the entire family to come out and partake of activities that will help them to live well. It includes free cancer screenings, free biometric screenings, as well as fun-filled activities for children, their families. We're going to start the day out with yoga. We ask that you bring your mat, and we're going to do yoga on the State Capitol lawn. And then starting at 9 a.m., we will begin our health activities, which include cancer screenings for breast, skin, prostate, and colorectal cancers, as well as blood pressure, blood glucose, cholesterol screenings. We're going to have healthy cooking demonstrations. We'll have music. We'll have activities for the children. We're going to have our inflatable colon out there where people can walk in the colon and kind of see what it is that we're looking for when we do a colorectal screening, as well as some great door prizes.
It's going to be going on all day long. I apologize. I'm pulling up my weather app right now just to see how things are going to be because I know we're expecting rain today. Give us the times. 8 a.m., I believe, is when everything starts?
8 a.m. is when yoga starts.
Okay.
At 9 a.m., we'll do the screenings until 1 o'clock p.m.
All right.
We invite you to come out. You can call us, get more information. Our number to call is 225-425-8034. We encourage you to call. We ask that you get screened, that you partake of the activities. The rain is going to hold up. We have faith until we're done, and we just want you to make it a fun-filled day for everyone. But it is important that you get screened because the earlier we detect cancer, the more likely we are to cure the cancer. So we want to make sure that you're getting those cancer screenings. We also want to thank our presenting sponsor, Carnival Crew de Louisiane, who does a great job of raising funds for the Cancer Center and sponsors this event on an annual basis for us.
Yes, Carnival Crew de Louisiane. I'm glad you got to them right now. I was planning on getting to them a little bit later. A record-breaking contribution for the Cancer Center during this year's Mardi Gras Ball. A lot of folks don't know about Carnival Crew de Louisiane because they don't ride. They just they do their thing, but it's not on the streets of Baton Rouge like Orion or Artemis would be. Talk to me about their efforts, please.
So they have been raising funds for over 30 years for the Cancer Center through their annual Mardi Gras Ball and debutante presentation. And so all of these funds that they raise go into the Cancer Center and our programs and services that we offer for our cancer patients and for the community in the form of early detection cancer screenings, patient navigation services, supportive services for our patients, as well as other things. So we would not be able to bring this event, Live Well Baton Rouge, to the community at no cost to anyone without the support of organizations like Carnival Crew de Louisiane.
All right, let's talk about this as a family event, because for the grown-ups, the screenings are very, very important. What medical opportunities or what get well, live well opportunities are there for the kids, or is it just the fun side for the kids and the grown-ups need to do grown-up things?
So the activities that we have for the kids, because we know that the opportunity to really change behaviors is when you're a child. And so we want our kids to understand the importance of physical activity and healthy eating. So we're going to have healthy cooking demonstrations that they can watch and learn from, as well as the physical activities that we're going to have for them. We're going to have some pretty cool sack races for them. We've got a great door prize for the kids who win that, as well as some other fun activities, all in an effort to help educate them about the importance of healthy eating and staying active to take care of their bodies.
Now, for the grown-ups, the screenings are varied, and yes, early detection is the key to every cancer out there. But for the grown-ups, the screenings are varied. There are different age levels where you're recommended to get your first screening for everything. What should folks be taking on at different stages in their life?
So for breast screening, it's recommended that you start getting clinical breast exams in your 20s. If you have a strong family history, in consultation with your physician, you may want to have a baseline mammogram starting at age 35. But all women age 40 and older should have an annual mammogram and a clinical breast exam. For colorectal screening, the age requirement is 45 unless you have a strong family history of colorectal cancer or you're experiencing any symptoms. Skin cancer is open to anyone at any age. We will screen children under the age of 18 with parental consent. If they have areas of their body that they want examined that might be different, may look different, they have a growth somewhere, a mold that's changing, or skin issues that they've experienced that they want us to take a look at. Prostate cancer screening is recommended starting at age 45 for African American men, age 50 for all others, unless you have a strong family history. So a lot of it is driven by family history and age. But we do encourage everyone to come out and get better educated, because the more you know and understand when you're supposed to begin screening, the greater likelihood that you will get those screenings at the appropriate time.
Talking with Renea Duffin, VP for Cancer Support and Outreach over at the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Tomorrow is Live Well Baton Rouge, formerly known as Fest for Life. Renea, you got to put some folks' minds at ease here, because a number of these screenings, well, I mean, a prostate exam can be very intimate, let's just say, but you're out on the street. So walk us through the level of privacy, concern, care, and doing something that's normally done in an office out at a festival.
Okay, you're absolutely correct. But we have offices on wheels. We have 2 mobile medical clinics that we will have fully staffed. That is the same privacy level that you would receive in a physician's office. They come complete with private exam rooms, and everything is done very discreetly and in order. We also have, if an abnormal finding is found during the screening or as a result of your testing, then our nurse navigator is going to work with individuals with those abnormal findings until they reach resolution of those. So we're not going to just tell you, oh, we found something, we're not quite sure what it is, good luck figuring it out. That's not our protocol. Our nurse navigator navigates over 1,000 people a year who have abnormal findings, and she assists them in reaching resolution to those findings.
Whose idea was it to come up with a giant inflatable colon?
So we have been wanting a colon for a very long time because it's a great visual. A lot of people are visual learners, and so for them to be able to see what the inside of the colon would look like as a normal colon, as a colon with polyps, and then a colon with a malignant disease, it's a great visual tool. And so we were very fortunate a few years ago to receive a grant that enabled us to be able to purchase the colon. And so we take it everywhere, blow it up, and it's a great talking point, but more importantly, it's a great educational tool to allow individuals to see what it is that we're looking for when we're doing a colorectal screening.
And it's going to be on the state capitol grounds. And if anybody knows what you know what? Nope. Stop right there, Brian, before you get yourself in trouble. From a sheer curiosity standpoint, I think you have Baton Rouge riveted at this point. That right there. That right there is the seller. Renee Duffin, VP for Cancer Support and Outreach over at the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. One more time with all the details on when folks need to be there and before I get you out of here, times
Sure.
and the rest of it.
Okay. We're going to be on Spanish Town Road. The street will be completely blocked off on Saturday, May 14th from 8 to 1. We're starting at 8 a.m. with Go Yoga.
Mm-hmm.
Bring your mat. The yoga will be conducted on the State Capitol lawn. And then starting at 9, we will be doing the different types of cancer screenings, cooking demonstrations, other biometric screenings. You can visit our website, www.marybird.org, or you can call us at 225-425-8034.
The level of importance of this right now, it cannot be overstated, as cancer screenings have just been down due to COVID-19. We went through the pandemic, and everybody got out of the habits of going in and looking for what we're supposed to be looking for. There was a good stretch where we couldn't go in and look for what we were supposed to be looking for. So now more than ever, Live Well Baton Rouge is just vitally important to us.
That is absolutely correct. And we did see a complete lull there. Cancer screenings are down about 20-25% nationwide. So we do encourage people to come out. These are no-cost screenings, and so we encourage you to come out, get screened. If you can't get in on Saturday, then we have other screenings available in the community that we'll be doing at other times, and you can contact us and we can make you aware of those. But the most important thing I'd like to leave your listeners with is, no matter what, contact your physician or contact us about getting screened for cancer, because early detection does save lives.
She is Renee Duffin, VP of Cancer Support and Outreach from the Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. Thank you so much for the time, and good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Giant inflatable colon. Yeah, that's the thing. Like, if you're not at least like curious, how can you not be curious about that? Yes, vital health benefits across the board, but giant inflatable colon. Here's your money now. Eric's, wait, you ready for this? Eric, thank you for the setup because I've got the punchline. Eric says, I'll be doing breast checks with a signed waiver. Yeah, well, just 2 blocks up Spanish Town Road, there's going to be free prostate exams going on, too. Moon River. How do they compact the colon? With nacho cheese, Nyquilus? I am never going to be adult enough to do that. Okay, I'm going to take the whole family to Party City. And we're all going to find poop emoji costumes. And then we'll go into... I know verbally it's not funny. The visual in my head is killing me. Byron says they usually put it right next to the testicular cancer bouncy tent. Bringing new meaning to the term ball pit. Oh, yeah. Seriously, how does that lady power through an inflatable colon? With lube. Oh, God. Oh. Bonus points if you go through fist first. I am getting fired. Oh. Take note. She said they purchased the giant inflatable colon. They didn't have it custom made, which means there's a market for giant inflatable colons. Colon inflatables are us. You know what? Let's go to Amazon real quick. Google giant inflatable colon. Kansas City's got one. Oh, shit. Breaking news. Actually, it's not breaking. It's like a couple years old. He's so stupid. Taco Bell gonna have a food truck. Store says, I'm laughing at watching you laugh so hysterically. I can't help it, dude. I went in heavy this morning on the national shit, right? I needed this. Also, I'm on no sleep. Randy Johnson would just be. Oh, God. I just got on a list for Googling that. Wait till you hear the story, though. Oh, snap. Oh, goodness gracious. Woo-saw. Bring it in. Oh, my God. .756 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. I'm never going to be grown up enough to do that segment, by the way. Wow. So Renee said they purchased a giant inflatable colon. Not they had one custom made, which suggests that there's a market for giant inflatable colons. So I Googled giant inflatable colon during the break. Come to find out, 4 years ago, the University of Kansas Cancer Center, somebody stole theirs. Yes, Kansas City, somebody was running around with a giant inflatable stolen colon. That's a thing that happened in real life. If you want to get a look at what that looks like, it'll be out there by the Capitol grounds tomorrow, Spanish Town Road. All right. Time for us to step outside of East Baton Rouge Parish. It is time for the Outside In. Starting off in Livingston Parish, an 18-year-old drowned in a pond off Sims Road Wednesday night. Police have identified him as Roderick Thompson of Denham Springs. Sheriff Jason Hart said a group of friends went to the pond to swim. Quote, while swimming, one male began to struggle. We know several friends tried to assist, but he went underwater and didn't resurface. Foul play is not suspected. Authorities said the investigation is ongoing. Keeping it in Livingston, Parish Council voted Thursday to halt any new development in the parish for 60 days. 7-2 was the vote on the approved moratorium. The measure will not go into effect until after being signed by Livingston Parish President Leighton Ricks, who has 15 days to make up his mind if he is going to sign off on it. Heading up to Franklin Parish, state prosecutors have charged 3 Louisiana State Police troopers accused of beating a black motorist, hoisting him to his feet by his hair braids, and bragging in text messages that the whooping would give him nightmares for a long time. Jacob Brown, Dakota DeMoss, and George Cam Harper, who were white, were seen on body camera video piling onto Harris following a high-speed chase that extended next to a cornfield in rural Franklin Parish, kneeling, slapping, and punching him, even though he had surrendered face down with his arms and legs out. This is a bad scene, and this one's probably going to get worse as well. The troopers' attorneys declined to comment Thursday. A state police spokesperson didn't comment on the charges either. Right back to Livingston Parish to close that out. A child was struck by gunfire during an apparent drive-by shooting overnight Wednesday into Thursday. It happened around 1 a.m. on Pardue Road north of Main Street. Livingston Parish Sheriff's Office said the victim, an 8-year-old girl, is in stable condition. That's the outside in. We're going to take you right up to CBS News here on Talk 107.3. Then Hour 3 coming your way next. Oh, God. You know, if your headline's going to be a U.S. basketball star, 3 sentences later you say it's Brittany Griner. Come on. This is a WNBA star. Like, it's different, right? She plays for tens of dollars in front of handfuls of people. Wait, I'm not even listening. What was it? Yeah. I appreciate them holding it off until the very end, but yeah, they could have held it off past that. So the royal family should be entertainment for us, and that's it, right? Yeah. It's a full-on segment. Yes. And I'm not easy to work with, and I'm well aware of that. I'm, oh. I'm very random. That's when I say I'm not difficult to work with personality-wise. I'm just very random. Yes. Oh wow. Oh. .806 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Hour 3 of Mornings with Brian Haldane coming your way right now. Brian here with you. Jake producing. We are off and running. Hey, thanks again to all the guests who have hopped on so far. It's been a busy, busy day guest-wise. This is one of those. So Haggai was out for Cup of Tech Gumbo today. So I went ahead and booked 2 different interviews since that segment actually runs 2 segments. So thanks to Dan Eberhart and thanks to Mike Moncla. Talking about inflation, talking about oil and gas. In our last hour, we had CNN political analyst, longtime presidential advisor David Gergen, and Renea Duffin from Mary Bird Perkins Cancer Center. We're not nearly done with the guest list just yet. Patrick Connick coming your way at 8:15. We're going to talk name, image, and likeness. He got the ball rolling on this last year, but there was a lot of let's get it out there and figure out what's what on the fly. Well, through that figuring out what's what on the fly gives us SB 250, which is at the state capitol right now. We'll talk with Patrick Connick in our next segment. AFR 104.5's Matt Moscona going to join us at 8:35 this morning. Let's talk a little bit about the Saints' schedule. It is out. Got out there yesterday and leaked early, and then in the presentation show or whatever on ESPN. So I would say there's a lot to like about this Saints' schedule, but looking at it, trying to remember that this is not going to be a Sean Payton team makes it very difficult. We'll break it down with Matt Moscona at 8:40. Also, big announcement coming your way to round out the show, 8:55 as well. Right now, though, we hand things off to Jake. Every day he takes us back in time with this day in history.
Oh, yes! It is time
Yes,
for
it
this
is.
day in history. We're going to be kicking things off.
I'm not even looking behind me. Is there soccer behind my head?
Just let me get to it.
Does it? Okay.
Just give me a
Okay,
second.
you got it. You got it.
1767. Wolfgang Amadeus Mozart's first opera.
Was that a soccer game?
No. It was written when he was 11 years old and it premiered in Salzburg.
Okay.
1958.
11 years old?
Yeah.
It's impressive.
Very. Are you kidding me? That's insane. 1958. The motorcade carrying U.S. Vice President Richard Nixon is attacked in Caracas, Venezuela.
Yep.
Several of Nixon's staff are injured. Yeah. Yikes. And in 2012, this is actually objectively one of the craziest sports moments of all time. Manchester City beats QPR 3-2 in the City of Manchester Stadium to win the Premier League title for the first time in, I think, 39 years over their rivals, Manchester United.
Okay.
They recovered from 2-1 down with two very, very, very late goals. And it was the first title that was decided on goal difference. Might I add, one of the most iconic commentaries in sports.
Go for it.
That Rooney goal was enough for the 3 points. Manchester City are still alive here. Balotelli, Aguero! I
For the
swear
longest
you'll
time,
never see
this team
anything
was
like this
treated
ever
like
again.
the Sacramento Kings.
Yeah.
So watch it.
And
Drink it
since
in.
this moment, they've gone on to absolutely
just heard the news at the
their
Stadium of
rivals, who are
Light.
pretty much the Lakers of England.
All right. So,
It's
first of all,
crazy.
you said it's one of the greatest calls of all time, but did you notice the announcer just let it breathe?
Mm-hmm.
The announcer just let the crowd let us feel the moment. You don't have to put the stamp on everything. If you don't have a "Do you believe in miracles" in line ready to roll, let the moment happen. Can I
amazing there.
shock the hell out of you?
Sure.
6 years later, on this day in history,
What happened?
Manchester City ends the English Premier League season with a 1-0 win at Southampton, having smashed 11 Premier League records, including biggest title-winning margin, 19 points, and most points scored at 100.
So
I had a soccer note.
yeah, I
Mark it
appreciate
down.
that. I do appreciate that. No, but for perspective, that means we were more than 6 wins clear in a 38-game season.
There you go.
Which is
There you go.
pretty nice, gotta say.
Very much so.
And in 2016, Chance the Rapper releases his third mixtape, Coloring Book, on Apple Music. And it was the first album to chart on Billboard Top 100 based only on streams. Grammy for the best rap album.
All right.
That's kind of telling, actually.
Yeah, it
Based
is.
only on streams, and now that's the benchmark. Huh.
Eric says on YouTube, the signal's picking up Europe radio. You knew that was coming. Hey, got a couple more for you. Is that all you got for events?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. This day in 1981, Pope John Paul II, there was his assassination attempt that led us to the Pope Mobile. This day in 1846, the U.S. declares war on Mexico. You know why?
I can't
They didn't
imagine.
get invited to the Cinco de Mayo party the week before. Yep. This
They were
day
left off the list.
in 19 well, news traveled slowly. That's why it took 6 more days.
Yeah.
Actually, it was over the annexation of Texas. This day in 1917, 3 children, Lucia dos Santos and her cousins Francisco and Jacinta Marto, reported seeing the Virgin Mary near Fatima, Portugal.
Whoa.
And on this day in 1992, Geraldo Rivera and Frank Stallone had a boxing match on the Howard Stern show. Geraldo lost.
Oh, my God.
Programming note, Geraldo Rivera is going to be on with Brian Kilmeade later on today. I'm dying to know if Kilmeade brings it up.
Don't cross the streams, man.
Hey, get after it.
Let's get to the birthdays. I got a lot to talk about, actually. First up, Robert Pattinson, Batman, Twilight, Harry Potter, turns 36. Happy birthday to him. Debbie Ryan, 29 years old.
Debbie Ryan,
You know who
29?
that is.
Hey, Jesse.
Woo! Stevie Wonder turns 72. Dennis Rodman is 61. Stephen Colbert turns 58. Ewan Rion turns 37. He played, Ramsay Snow in Game of Thrones. I didn't watch much, but
Nope.
people listening hopefully know who I'm talking about. Yaya Toure, one of the main players of Man City's title win in that clip there.
Who apparently agrees with himself.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was bad.
That was bad, but I thought it was funny. He turns 39. Happy birthday to the legend. And, of course, Tyrann Mathieu turns 30.
I was wondering if you can get that one.
I had to save it for last, man. He's the Saints, man. Who dat? What you got for me?
Harvey Keitel, born on this day in 1939.
Okay.
Richie Valens, 1941.
There you go.
Former Mets and Rangers manager Bobby Valentine, born on this day in 1950. And a couple of LSU baseball birthdays today as well.
Oh, yeah?
Pitcher Mike Sorotka. And, well, I guess this is an LSU baseball and basketball birthday. Former White Sox outfielder Lyle Mouton.
Very nice. Happy birthday to all those mentioned. Didn't have any deaths to talk about.
Doris Day.
Who?
Doris Day.
May she rest in peace. Holidays. I got 4 to talk about. First up, National Blame Someone Else Day.
All right.
Just blame someone today, I guess. National Frog Jumping Day. Shout out to Leapfrog. National Crouton Day. And National Apple Pie Day.
It is National Apple Pie Day. I'm so hit or miss on apple pie. It's also Friday the 13th.
Yeah, I mean, obviously.
Yeah. So.
But that is this day in history.
All right, quick break. When we come back, let's talk name, image, and likeness with State Senator Patrick Connick next. Yeah. Okay. Y'all, I'm going back to some of this stuff about the inflatable colon again. Byron says it's still better than the erectile dysfunction blow-up that they tried last year. I think something was wrong with the fan. Well, if they had visited the prostate check the year before, they'd be fine. Bro, there was no way. Like I said, I slept for maybe an hour last night. Yeah. BRPD. Oh, I got to give you Patrick Connick's number as well. You put me back on? Nyquilla says, you know, frat party people were covered in Hershey's sliding into a pool. So gross. Jake from Manchester. Did I have Matherns at any point? Sure. Oh, good. $8:17, Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. So a lot going on at the state legislature right now, a lot garnering headlines, whether it comes to a bridge or an abortion bill or whatever. One of the items that's moving forward that is going to have an impact, to say the least, in college athletics in the sport is SB 250. It is authored by State Senator Patrick Connick, who joins us now. Senator Connick, welcome back to the show. How are you, man?
I'm doing great, man. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to have you on. Glad to be talking about this. If we could rewind the clock back to last year, you were very much out in front in the NIL space to get Louisiana in the game to begin with.
Yeah, we planned on putting this in 2020, but then COVID hit, so we sat out a year and then came back last year, and we were one of the first ones in the nation to become have an NIL law that went into effect last summer. And since that time, the NCAA has not really acted. They've done some things, but not enough. So it allowed us to tweak the law, and that's what we're doing now.
Basically, we got in the game. We were able to watch a few games and then determine, hey, this is what other states are doing right. This is what other states are doing wrong. Let's fine-tune what we've got going. Is that about right?
Well, it wasn't what the states were doing right or wrong. It's what the NCAA was and was not doing. And we found out the NCAA was not doing anything, basically, to address this. So we were able to take we felt we needed to take some of the restrictions that we put on ourselves off so we can be competitive with the other states, and that's what we're doing now.
Okay, so about the NCAA doing nothing, we're going to go back and revisit that. But first, I want to talk about what this bill does, what tweaks were made, what changes are made to how NIL is going to look in Louisiana moving forward.
Okay, the basic premise of all this is we've taken the restrictions off of these schools to comply and to meet the NCAA standards that they exist now. It's basically 5 areas. Number 1, you have the individual boosters can now get involved with NIL deals. The schools. 2 is the schools can get more involved in facilitating the deals between the businesses and the student. They can look at the contracts, make sure that they meet Louisiana law and the students are protected. The 3rd one is that it allows the booster groups to pool and create funds, pool money, create funds to use to support the university. The 4th one is adds a limitation of liability, meaning that if a student's not playing and he has a deal, he can't sue the coach or an employee saying, you're ruining my deal. But if your performance is not there, you shouldn't be playing. So it protects the schools and coaches from that. And the 5th one is it has a confidentiality provision saying that these contracts that the students have are not subject to the public records law. So those are the 5 deals. It just removes the restrictions and makes Louisiana more competitive and gives an incentive for these student athletes to work at LSU, to come to Louisiana schools.
State Senator Patrick Connick, our guest. Senator Connick, oftentimes laws that are presented are reactive. That preventing a lawsuit part sounds very proactive. Do we have examples of that happening, or is that just a touch of foresight?
That's just looking down the road. I think this bill is the result of a collaboration of all the universities around the state, with all of the AD directors, and this is what they wanted. This is what they see that was needed, and that's what we put in the law, and it's going to pass pretty soon. I'm certain it will.
It's hard to not look at other states or what other institutions have done along the way to see what we might need to be roadmapped here in Louisiana. How much did we get examples from other schools of what some other football programs in particular might have done?
I guess the main one was what they did at Texas A&M when the boosters pooled their money and were able to get entice some people over there to go to their schools. So that's why we are allowing the booster groups in Louisiana to do that, so they can support their schools. And it's got to be as long as they meet the NCAA pay for play rules. They cannot do that.
How do you walk the balance between what the NCAA has not done and is expected to one day do versus establishing the ground rules here in Louisiana? Like, if the NCAA acts tomorrow, will that supersede what y'all have done or are doing?
I think like a school like LSU will follow those NCAA rules in order not to be non-compliant with them. I see eventually this going to Congress, and you're going to have a uniform rule across the nation. And that's what is needed, but we're not there yet, so we need legislation like this to make sure that LSU remains competitive. But until that time, we're going to keep being as proactive as we can to be in the forefront of this evolving area of law.
State Senator Patrick Connick is our guest. Senator Connick, the part about the U.S. Congress I don't think can be overstated. It needs to be repeated and shouted as many times as possible, because as long as our Louisiana teams are playing against teams from other states, if it's going to be a fair playing field, we all have to be playing by the same rules. Has there been any talk coordination with other state legislators to kind of see if the U.S. government's going to move at a snail's pace, we can get things done at a state level and, say, work with the folks in Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia to kind of all be on a level playing field?
Yeah, there's no communication between the states. No one has ever talked to me from other states about my legislation, about our legislation in Louisiana. But I think by pushing this legislation, these states are making Congress pay attention and will eventually force Congress to act, so we can all be on the same page and all be, competing fairly and equally.
Where's it at in the process?
Right now, it passed the Senate. It's out of the Senate. It passed the House committee. It goes to the floor, and Rep. Savansky will be handling it from me on the floor. He's a co-author, and he's ready to get this thing done and back to the governor to sign and make Louisiana, in the forefront of this area of law.
When it comes to NIL in the first year that we've seen with it, and if you said you've gotten feedback from all the universities within the state, how much has NIL taken hold on a smaller school level? I mean, we all know what's going on at LSU here in Baton Rouge, but the other schools around, the Nicholses of the world, or the Northwestern states of the world, are we seeing them work towards getting into this space as well?
Oh yeah, from when we were in front of the House committee, the U.S. system president came and testified, and he was for this. He needs this, Dr. Henderson. Mm-hmm. He was able to say this is needed, and he was able to put in some legislation, some wording to make it happen. So they are, we always focus on LSU, but this is all around the state. Tulane and ULL and those guys, Monroe and Grambling, they're making deals. I don't know the particulars of those, but they're involved and they're assisting their student athletes to become successful in this area.
I'm glad you brought up Tulane, because I didn't know if that applied to private institutions the same way it does to public.
Yes. The folks at Tulane were very instrumental in the first bill of putting the licensing agreement provision in. That means if a student wants to wear the LSU colors or the Tulane colors, they have to work with the school to be part of that and to get that approved. And so, yeah, they well involved in this, and they are doing what they can to make sure their students are aware of this too.
Now, you said a lot of this is establishing what they can do. How much goes into what they can't do?
I'm glad you asked that. Which we kept in the law the absolutely no pay to play. You can't entice a student to say, if you come here, we'll buy you a house, or we'll do this for you, get you this job, or get you this money. So that's out. You can't pay to play. You still need the financial training that a student will need to undergo to make sure that he understands the system. And there's a prohibition of endorsing gambling and alcohol. So that was one of the questions in the Senate. They did not want a student athlete to say, okay, you can endorse this, I can support this sports book or this alcohol company or Budweiser or whatever it is. So that's still in the law.
Yeah, the gambling aspect, or the recent mobile sports betting aspect, is the main reason why I asked about that, because that's going to be an interesting space where we see people taking a shot to get advertisers, and how is that going to play out? One more before I get you out. Well, actually, one more about the full session in a minute, but one more about NIL before we move on, and that is, recently the LHSAA has come up with a number of guidelines that they would like to see followed if NIL were to trickle down to a high school level. This bill is only on a college level. Is there any talk of moving in that direction to head off any high school NIL at the pass?
I don't think there's any talk to head off any of that going forward. This bill only deals with the colleges and universities. I see in the future some kind of legislation to affect the high school level athletes. But right now we don't have that. But that's, like I said, this is an ever-changing area of law that we have to look at and stay ahead of the game on it. And that's what we're going to plan on doing.
It feels pretty proactive. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot of opposition to it. Before we get you out of here, State Senator Patrick Connick, what else is hot at the legislative session that you have your eye on?
And there's so much going on, and there's so many, like we had an abortion bill last night that was on the House side that was really poorly written, and they changed it to make it, more in line with what we have currently. There's the money bills coming up that we have a lot of money we got to spend, but we got to make sure we spend it properly and with long-term needs. You guys in Baton Rouge need a bridge. We got to work on that. The guys in Lake Charles need a bridge. We got to work on that. And it's a lot of needs around the state. We have money this time around, and we got to make sure, I guess, that we do what's right and do it properly.
We got a little bit less than a month to go in this 2022 regular legislative session. He is State Senator Patrick Connick. We always appreciate the time, sir.
Thank you, Brian. Have a good morning.
You do the same. 829 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Got a minute or so till we hit break. So, this bill, I'm so glad he brought up Texas A&M, if for no other reason than just a cheap dig. It's legit, though. As we've watched NIL evolve over the last year, the boosters have taken over, trying to discern what is pay-for-play versus what is an endorsement, that all these things are going to have to be continually fine-tuned. I don't think this legislation is the end-all, be-all of it. I think it's great legislation. I think it moves the needle a lot to get us closer to where we need to be. But like all things in life, you give us an inch and we'll take a mile, right? Give boosters an inch and they'll figure out a way to beat it. We talk about it in Cup of Tech Gumbo all the time. Every time you solve what a hacker's doing, the hacker moves on to the next thing. Boosters are going to do the same thing with NIL. Those who want to get cash in the hands of players are going to figure out the loopholes. Senator Connick is trying to close the loopholes that are already there and foresee the next one. It's that foreseeing the next one part that gets tricky. So I'm sure they'll be back at it again for the next legislative session as well. All right, we're not nearly done yet. We've got to talk about the Saints schedule in our next segment. Matt Moscona, host of After Further Review, will join us. Before we hit news here at the bottom of the hour, got to remind you about the 5K giveaway going on right now at Talk1073.com. How would you like an extra $5,000 this summer, huh? Maybe put it towards a vacation. Maybe you got a home improvement project that's going to cost a lot more than you thought because of inflation. I don't know. Citizens Bank and Trust has teamed up with us once again, as they always do. Got to love the reliable banking partners over at Citizens Bank and Trust for the 5K giveaway. Sign up now at Talk1073.com. He would be on the phone. I believe you need to call him. He will be dropping off Drew, so call him like as we're coming back in. Give him as much time as possible. No, I don't. Mm-hmm. So are there more? There's more than one team from Manchester? Okay. It's like the Jets and the Giants. So that would make Man City the Clippers? Yeah, but nah. And which one are you in with the we? They wear blue, or they're just sad? And which one does Ted Lasso coach? I'm sorry. That's the real one they're based off of? There you go. Oh my God. Gotta love when you pull up your email during the break and see. Like, I had all my emails down to where I had no new emails. I opened, and this was like 5 minutes before the show started. I opened my emails a second ago, and I got 42 new emails in under 2 hours, in under 3 hours. There's no call for that. It's mostly press releases, but yeah. Eric says, what's the announcement? Last segment of the show, Eric. Last segment of the show. You got 20 minutes. You do have Moscona's number, right? Okay. Yeah, just wait till we're in weather. It's all good. Yep. Oh, crap. I can't have this open. I got to do my weather first. I'll open it back up after that. Damn it, Bobby. Dang it, Bobby. Boy, I tell you what. Who's this jackass? 837 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Thanks again to State Senator Patrick Connick for talking a little name, image, and likeness with us right there. I'm going to get you to Matt Moscona in just a minute. The Saints' schedule for 2022 is out. I went to breakdown. I went to projected wins and losses. Am I taking the over at 8 wins or not? We'll have Matt Moscona from After Further Review coming up in just a minute. Hey, I do need to check that forecast real quick because we are going to get wet today. 74% chance of rain. High of 85 degrees. Now, if you're wondering when that rain's going to swing through, wait till this afternoon, okay? We're going to see some cloud cover move in at about 11, and that cloud cover will increase until about 2, where we'll have a 30% chance of rain. It bumps up to a 60% chance of rain for at 3 o'clock, 70% chance of rain for the next few hours. It'll scale back down as we move into the evening, but we're not quite done with it yet. Overnight low tonight is 66, high tomorrow of 87. Another 70% chance of rain tomorrow. 3 days worth of rain is not going to cure what's going on with the heat because we're right back into the 90s on Sunday. Right now we're at 78 degrees in downtown Baton Rouge. So yesterday the NFL leaked all the schedules and then officially released all the schedules. The New Orleans Saints among them. Joining us now to break down said schedule is the host of After Further Review, Matt Moscona. Matt, what's happening, brother?
Hey, Brian, I'm good. How are you?
Doing very, very well this morning. So, the Saints schedule comes out. Your gut takeaway is what?
I think it's brutal in the middle, manageable front and back, and really they have got to get off to a great start because when you start with Week 6 and the Cincinnati Bengals come into the Dome, that through Week 13 is just a heinous stretch that will make or break this season.
I mean, I was looking at the back half of that middle with Week 11 hosting the Rams, Week 12 at San Francisco, Week 13 at Tampa Bay. Like, I was focusing on that as being the hardest part, but yeah, as you back up to the Bengals and Cardinals, that doesn't help your case either.
Well, keep in mind, so you're going to play Cincinnati, of course, the defending AFC champion,
right?
And then you go to Arizona on a short week. So some people will think you make too much of schedule, but I believe it's not just who you play, but when and where you play them that matters. Like, you're going to play the Minnesota Vikings in London. That's also coming after a road trip to Carolina. So, like, consider this, Brian. Like, this is likely what the Saints will do. They'll go to Carolina to play in Week 3, and they won't come back to New Orleans. They'll likely just fly from Carolina to London and spend the whole week there. And so then a week away, time zones away, you play that game, then you fly back, and then you got to be ready to roll against Seattle in the Dome 7 days after you play in London. So all of that travel, all of those factors matter. And then you mentioned the back-to-back road games against San Francisco and Tampa. So you got to fly to the West Coast to take on San Fran, fly all the way back to New Orleans, and then fly to the East Coast to go take on Tampa. It's just that the travel is probably the most understated factor of importance when it comes to NFL or really any professional sports. You just don't consider how much of a factor that plays. And the Saints have a lot of it on the schedule.
Well, there's nothing more of a physical beat-up, a physical grind in the NFL, and that means rest and recuperation, and the amount of hours you're on the road or in the air affects that rest as well. So as the NFL grows this international footprint, as we see more international games, the NFL, the easy takeaway would be, don't they need to spend more time paying attention to mitigating those long-term efforts where you're going to have a team who's like gone from home for 10 days?
So it used to be that if you played one of those international games in London, like when they would just play one a year, if you were that team, you would get the bye the next week to recover from that travel.
Right.
Well, now that they've expanded the schedule and they're playing, it's either 5 or 6 international games, I don't remember off the top, like, you don't have the luxury of having all of those teams have their bye after the international game. It can't work when you're putting together an entire league schedule.
Yeah.
So I guess the one grace that you get is you get to play at home that next week. You're not going to travel back-to-back weeks when you're international. So it's unfortunate, man. I mean, but everybody in the league's got to do it eventually. So this will be the third time since 2008 that the Saints have gone and played in London. The biggest disappointment is that that's a home game. I mean, I'd much rather play Minnesota in the Superdome than a home game, in Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
It's so weird to say it out loud.
I know.
Just calling that a home game in and of itself. A couple more on the Saints schedule, and let's move over to the bye week, Week 14. Super duper late in the season. As I look at this, you've got Dennis Allen in his first year as the Saints head coach. Would you rather have a bye week early on as a get-right week or a bye week later on in case you're in playoff contention?
Yeah, the answer is later, and every player would tell you that.
Yeah.
By the time you get late in the season, especially if you're in playoff contention, if you have a bye like they did last week, I believe in Week 6, you end up going from Week 7 to Week 18 without having a break. And then if you make the playoffs, you're playing potentially another 1, 2, 3, 4 games. So it's better. Objectively, I think any player would tell you they would rather have the bye later in the season. So that does work out in the Saints' favor. What I'll tell you something to file away, if you remember, the David Onyemata suspension last year was a 6-game suspension, and the Saints had their bye in Week 6. So he actually had to miss Week 7 for the 6th game. So we're thinking about that obviously because of Alvin Kamara, his situation presently. If he does find a 6-game suspension somewhere, it'll be interesting to see where that falls, in this schedule, and it may fall with respect to the bye. We'll see. Deontay Hardy, his suspension came later in the season for his DUI. So I get it's nuanced, but there's a lot to consider. But it does all matter. It's not just who, but when and where you play them.
No, I completely agree. Okay, couple of highlight games along the way. Obviously, we got both teams that were in the Super Bowl on the schedule. Joe Burrow coming to New Orleans is going to be a big deal.
I'm actually really not looking forward to that. And I know that's going to sound stupid, but I'm not looking at it through the prism of an LSU fan, which I would totally understand why you'd be excited. I'm looking at it through the lens of a Saints fan. And I understand that there's a ton of LSU fans that are Joe Burrow fans that are pulling for the Bengals that maybe aren't Saints fans. And so you're going to have a situation, Brain, where 10, 15, 20,000 people buy tickets to that game that are from Louisiana that put on Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase jerseys to go cheer for the Bengals. So, that's sometimes you see that with teams in the league where like they have big national fan bases, the Packers, Cowboys, where their fans end up flooding a venue for a road game. Mm-hmm. And I think that's going to happen with the Bengals when they come to the Dome. There was some talk that game was going to be in London, and I was actually hoping it was going to be because it would have mitigated that element. So I don't mean to be a downer. I understand why LSU fans are going to be excited about that. I'm not, because I think it's going to mute the home field advantage in the Dome a bit because you're going to have so many people cheering for the Bengals.
So I wasn't asking from a Joe Burrow fandom standpoint, more of the standpoint of a football fan wanting to see a good show.
Well, I mean, I get it, and a lot of people thought that was going to be a primetime game. But the thing that I would point out is NFL fans don't care that Joe Burrow played at LSU an hour from the Superdome.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we care. It's an interesting storyline here. But if you're a fan of the Bills or you're a fan of the Rams or the Raiders, like, you don't care where Joe Burrow finished his college career. I mean, do you care if Tom Brady goes and plays the Lions in Detroit because he played football at Michigan? I mean, it's a big deal here. It's just not nationally. The bigger deal would be Week 6. Are the Saints, how do the Saints start those first 5 weeks? And are the Bengals in contention in the AFC again? That's what would make that a big game for sure.
I guess it's more prevalent in the NBA when you circle like when Giannis is going to come to town, that sort of thing. That was the lens and scope there. What about when the Rams come to town? I'm guessing that one's going to be a big one as well.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously, going back to 2018 with the Nola no call, I think forever the two franchises will be linked because of that, and certainly Saints fans are going to be more sour because of it. I mean, you bring in the defending Super Bowl champion. I'm curious, though, Brain, if there's not a little bit of a Super Bowl hangover. I mean, remember, no Andrew Whitworth, no Von Miller, no Sony Michel. Remains to be seen where Odell lands. The Rams, remember, traded away basically this entire draft to get Matt Stafford. So I think you may have a situation with the Rams, kind of like when the Falcons blew the 28-3 lead against the Patriots, and they had that Super Bowl hangover and weren't good or haven't been good since. You may have something similar with the Rams, which I know sounds strange, but that's one team I think takes a gigantic step back this year.
Bonus points for sneaking in 28-3. When we look at the schedule, how important is it as a Saints fan? How important is it to remember this is a Dennis Allen team, not a Sean Payton team?
Well, that's a good question, and I would say I'm not so sure how different it's going to be. With respect to the schedule, Sean's thing was always after the bye, like he would give his team off on the bye. Like he stole that from Andy Reid, where he would just say, "Just leave, be gone for the whole week." No work at all, which is atypical. And when they did that, they're really unbeatable coming off the bye.
Mm-hmm.
I think Dennis Allen will probably continue that. I think it's less the schedule and more how he managed his in game. Sean Payton was crazy. The onside kick to start the second half of the Super Bowl. He once ran like a double reverse down around the goal line against Tampa where they fumbled and blew. Sean had that kind of crazy in him. And you live with the good and the bad with it. I don't know that Dennis Allen is going to be that guy as a head coach. So I think it's more game management. Sean, when he would handle his challenges, he'd handle them like a pissed off teenager. So if he felt like he got jobs on the call or he wasn't upset, he would just throw the challenge flag. I think Dennis Allen will be a little more tempered with that stuff. That's probably where you'll see the bigger difference.
He is Matt Moscona, host of After Further Review. What's coming up on the show today?
Well, Ryan Theriot will be in studio, and we'll preview the LSU Ole Miss series, and we'll continue talking about the schedule, no doubt. So I'm looking forward to it. Fridays are fun.
They always are. 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN. We always appreciate the time, brother.
Hey, Brain.
Yes.
Thanks for having me on.
Oh, wow. Oh, always.
And you're fired.
I knew it was coming. Here comes your money now. Knew it was coming. Inflation, oil, and national, and the inflation, oil, and David Gergen. I had way too much for today. So YouTube, BRPD sent out a press release yesterday. The Baton Rouge police detectives arrested Edmund Revell, 20 years old, for gravely injuring an 18-year-old male that occurred on May 8th of 2020 around 2:08 a.m., 2139 Nebraska Street. Revell struck the victim with his fist as he attempted to de-escalate an incident that was occurring in the parking lot at the listed address. The victim was transported to a local hospital, is in critical condition. Revell was booked in the East Baton Rouge Parish Prison for attempted second-degree murder. So he was trying to step in to break up another fight, and he hit a guy so hard he's being accused of charged with attempted second-degree murder. If I'm Edmund Revell, how would I not wear this as a badge of honor for the rest of my life? Like, not only did I try to step in, and I hope I was reading that right about attempted to de-escalate an incident. Ravel struck the victim with his fist as he attempted to de-escalate an incident. I don't know if the guy he struck was attempting to de-escalate or if Ravel was attempting to de-escalate. I'll get to the bottom of that. But, I mean, you know the line from the movie, my fists are listed as lethal weapons. Legit are right here. I mean, if I could throw a punch and be charged with attempted second-degree murder, would it be worth the punishment just to have that moniker? I'm kidding. I didn't use my sarcastic voice, and I'm sorry. What else did I have in the stack that we didn't get to today? The CDC comes out with a new report every week that says I should be committing suicide any day now. It's good. It's good. It's I'm in the demo, man. Yeah. No, CDC, the Centers for Disease Control, tracking firearms deaths and suicides. Yeah.
Crypto's basically gone to shit, and
Yeah.
a lot of like I see on like subreddits pertaining to crypto, is like people like contemplating suicide, which is no laughing matter. But like
they bought in on bought in and they lost their livelihoods.
They lost everything. Now it's
so
millions of dollars is worth maybe $1,000.
Now would be a good time to Google junk bonds of the 80s. This is just history repeating itself in a different form. We saw this in the 80s with the junk bonds.
I don't know what
high yield bonds, whatever.
I think I just have a good knack for what's actually going to last and what's just a fab trend. Crypto is I never thought was going to be something.
I disagree with you. I believe crypto will have levels of volatility, but will eventually stabilize.
Maybe, but right now.
Right now, no. Right now, no.
This is the worst time to get involved. And if it doesn't survive this, then it, like I said, it won't survive.
Byron says, was it the Kill Bill 5-finger death punch? No. One swing, one hit, 2 men enter, 1 man leaves. .856 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Got to be quick about this. Don't have lunch plans today? Swing by Mathern's. Going out to Alex Box Stadium this weekend? Swing by Mathern's. Need to grab some beers before hitting the pool this weekend? Swing by Mathern's. Need to do all of your grocery shopping? Swing by Mathern's. Downtown on 3rd Street or in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. That is where you're going to find them. They're your go-to headquarters for tailgating for all football season long, but out at the box as well. Mathern's Market. Yes, they're on campus. No, they're not just for students. All right, we're almost done here today, but we're not quite done today because we've got an announcement coming right now. I hand it off to one Jake Barty. Jake?
Hey, everyone. So today is actually going to be my last day working at Guarantee Media. It was a big decision I had to make, but ultimately I thought it was the right thing for me to do with my life.
Mm-hmm.
But I absolutely had a great time working here. The people that I got to meet, the experience that I've gotten over the last 9 months, it's been a real pleasure, and I'm gonna miss coming in.
Gonna miss having you. It was a short stint within this role, but I gotta tell you, man, what we did here, throwing you in this role, this was your first radio gig.
Yeah,
and
that's not like like LSU media, like student stuff.
Well, no, like real time, big boy radio. Yeah. Your first gig. This is, and if we can get a little bit of inside baseball about the radio industry itself, this show is a complicated show to run.
Yeah, I would say out of any show I've run around Guarantee, this is probably the most technical.
There are levels. There are levels of how complicated things can get. Or just, board opping a national ball game is probably at the low end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. This show right here, I was in the top 2 of most complicated to run from the board end.
It's definitely up there. And I didn't know how to produce before I got this job. But I've worked my butt off, and
yes, you have, and I want to thank you for that. You committed yourself to it. You've grown by leaps and bounds throughout this time, and like I said, it would have been very easy to go back to Cade or somebody and say, "Can you give me one of the sports shows, like maybe one of the off-site shows where this one's you got to be all in from the start, and you learned a great deal and progressed a great deal while you're here. So. We are going to miss you, man. I appreciate you hopping on board. I appreciate you taking part and just giving of yourself these last months, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And if you need anything in the future, you still have my phone number.
Of course.
Until I change my phone number. No. We got to get out of here, y'all. That's going to do it for us. We got the Fox News Rundown coming up next. Brian Kilmeade will follow that. Don't forget, from back on this day in history, on this day in 1992, Frank Stallone beat Geraldo Rivera in a boxing match on the Howard Stern Show. Geraldo's going to be on with Kilmeade later on. Also, want to remind you one more time about Citizens Bank. They are Citizens Bank and Trust are the sponsors of the 5K giveaway going on right now at Talk1073.com. All right, that is going to do it for us. We will see you next week. Well, at least I will. Jake, going to miss you, man. I appreciate your efforts. We're out of here. Leaving 3 seconds for you today. All right. Eric says, I'll start Monday, right? So I'm kind of debating whether or not I want to go full open forum and do a reality show. Like The Bachelor, but the producer. Not the producers. That's been on Broadway forever. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I could take that. I couldn't dump 15 people and just be like, I don't have a rose for you today. Hit the bricks. Troy says, good luck in your new gig, Jake. Yes, good luck, good luck. No, not back to a Cowgirls guy. Although, to be fair, I've had 2 producers who are Cowboys fans.
I'm not a Cowboys fan.
But you're from Dallas.
That doesn't make me a Cowboys
You're a
fan.
Mavericks fan.
I am. Are the Cowboys the Mavericks?
They're from the same city.
Dude.
I'm just saying.
Don't. Just don't.
Well, anyway, we got to get out of here. I will see y'all Monday. Later.